Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Follow Everton. This is Everton Fan TV and the match reaction for Arsenal 2, Everton 1. I'm with Basil, who I'm sure will be just as annoyed as I am about that game, although it had nothing riding on it whatsoever. Um, we defended so well, and to come away from that match, Basil, with absolutely nothing is a real disappointment.
I'm not annoyed about the game because I think we were really good in that game. We were pretty. Like you could go as far as saying we were excellent, really, in an away performance at the Emirates under the pressure that Arsenal were to get that win and to keep them shut out for so long. But what will frustrate every Evertonian is that we didn't come away with a point because we
Mm.
were robbed from a refereeing decision, and that's what angers me.
Yeah, you're right, David. The performance was really good. David, can you just keep talking for 1 minute? This double layer in this heat's not helping me.
Double layer. Yeah, as I said, I think Everton, sort of in summary, they played really well. There was nothing riding on that game at all. Um, Basically, I suppose there was the points to keep our position above Brentford, but Brentford were pretty much doing us a favour by losing to Newcastle for most of that game. So I think we knew at halftime there was pretty much nothing, and we were still going to finish above Brentford. So, and we still put a really professional performance, and not just professional, but actually looked like we were probably going to get something out of the game.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you're saying there. I mean, they're just thanking the Arsenal fans. Arteta's doing
Mm.
his speech, saying that the Arsenal fans were incredible. But it's very easy to support a team that is fighting for the title. It's very difficult to support a team that suffers points deductions, adversity, crackpot owners, um, inept running of the club. So it's the Everton fans for me who get all the respect and all the credit because they've been through the mill this season and seen Everton amass 48 points. In my opinion, should be 49. But that is enough to be competing for the top 10. And my overarching thought about this game is that it's a real shame if Sean Dyche loses um, the key players because he's onto something here. He's building something where we could be progressing, to compete in kind of the batch of teams looking for the Europa League, the Europa Conference League next season. But instead, he's going to lose potentially an Honor and Branthwaite, who and I would like all the players apart from Ashley Young in this team today to be still Everton players next season, and then just sprinkle that bit of extra quality in terms of a right back and a left back, and another sort of number 10 who can play on the wing kind of player. And I think Everton will really shoot up the table. I think talent spotting we're good at, but it's the negotiating and the actual getting the deals over the line.
Yeah,
In
we
terms of this game, then, Dave, I'm sorry, have you got any?
No, I agree with everything you said. And I was just going to add that we have missed a lot of transfer targets over the year. And think it's like Gabriel, who's the top class player at Arsenal now, and Kudus at West Ham scoring a bicycle kit. We should be having these players, and just because of our financial situation, we've really shot ourselves in the foot. And
Yeah, it's what happens when you sign Alan, when you sign James Rodriguez, um, and you have ridiculous wages and they don't quite deliver up to the level that you need them to. And Aston Villa obviously have invested the money off player sales, similar to Everton have done, but bought better players and have now reached the Champions League. And I think you should be rewarded for trying to invest and improve things. But without going into politics, we'll leave that side of things to another show. Let's talk about this particular match in which Everton went with a very defensive lineup. Ashley Young at left back, Seamus Coleman at right back. Um, the two of them will be collecting their pension soon. And at centre half, you've got Jared Branthwaite, James Tarkowski. In goal, the what you know what I'm trying to say. Jordan Pickford. And on the wings, it was James Garner on the right.
yeah,
Um, on the wing,
Never
on the left,
went.
and there was three in the midfield: Decore, um, Idrissa Gana, Onana, and up front was Calvert-Lewin. And it was early on. It was quite evidently a 4-5-1 with Decore flat in that midfield alongside the other two, and James Garner tucked in on the right. And Calvert-Lewin didn't touch the ball for the first 4.5 minutes. He thought, "There's no way this can be sustained." He is completely being marked out the game and has no support whatsoever. And Arsenal got him behind very early. They were clearly trying to target Everton's left back, Ashley Young. They did that for the whole game, to be honest with you. But they had a real go in behind, and Arsenal could have got a couple of opportunities. But then, David, Everton grew back into it, didn't they? After that, an initial sort of spell where Arsenal looked dangerous, Everton found the shape, found some resilience, and they looked like they could have an impact on this game.
Yeah, I mean Everton were a lot more careful with the ball than they have done in a lot of the season. Obviously, the pressure's off them, but as they're playing out from on the counter attack, they just seem to be more composed and more calm about it. And
Just your camera,
Hmm?
your angle. You're like little. It looks like Little Britain. Okay.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Uh,
I'll just
Yeah, as
slightly.
you said, Arsenal really tried to exploit the fullbacks, both Coleman and Ashley Young, really, particularly on those like set pieces and crosses. They'd get 2-3 men behind the fullback and try and win it. You know, Tommy Asu should have probably scored after 5 minutes, but we held into it and we grew into the game. And 15 minutes in, Pickford has to make a really good save. I think they got in behind and he gets it down low with his legs. And then we have some good counterattacks and Calvert-Lewin has the shot off the post, which he then rebounds into the side net. And that was a good move. Was close to scoring. And you're thinking, actually, Everton are not just sitting back. They're picking moments to play on the counterattack and they are finding opportunities. And that's what it's about. And we did that really early on in the season. We were not just solid defensively, but we made moments and chances, and that seemed to get lost for the middle portion of the season. But
you're right. That sort of spell where we didn't win a game between December and March, we'd stopped doing the things that we were good at. Today was an example of what we are good at, and that is the defensive shape and the aggression and the tenacity. And then when you're getting the ball back, trying to make something happen with it on the counter-attack. The problem is you don't really have any pace. You've got nothing coming from fullback. Very slow fullbacks, very slow wingers. James Garner's not really a winger. I think he was pretty anonymous in that first half. And then you got Decore, who either looks like Ronaldo in terms of his technical quality and endeavour, or he looks absolutely like a Tom Davis lookalike. You know, he doesn't seem to have a middle ground, Decore. He's either amazing or he's not very good at all. But you know, we had our moments. We were trying to wait for Arsenal to lose the ball. I think at right back, Ben White was the one that was giving the ball away a fair bit for Arsenal, and Everton were trying to capitalise. But Arsenal had opportunities. There were clear chances. Everton rode their luck a little bit. They liked to get the ball in that first half over Seamus Coleman's head and basically confuse Seamus into not knowing who to mark, whether to stay inside with one of the strikers or to go out wide and mark someone on the back post behind him. So Coleman would often get caught up a little bit there. But Everton seemed to get to grips of that and kind of smother out Arsenal in that first half. And it was Idrissa Gana with in real time. I thought, you know, hang on, did we hit the post before that or?
yeah.
Yeah, David, you mentioned that then. So it's a counter attack. The ball is held up really nicely and played into Calvert-Lewin. He hits it near post for some reason instead of going across the keeper into the bottom corner. He should score, shouldn't he, David? And then he gets a second bite at it.
I think the angle actually looks harder than you're probably making it out there. I'm just thinking back from memory. His natural body shape and position lends itself to hitting it into towards the near post, rather than he would have to be very accurate to get it into the far post. I can see what you're saying. But they're up against Gabriel and Saliba. It's possibly the best duo as a defensive centre back duo in the league
Yeah,
this season. I wouldn't put our centre back duo much far behind, to be fair, but those two are just class, and it was very difficult to get any change from them.
yeah.
But
They've
so
got
he
everything,
probably
haven't
felt
they?
like he needed to just get it on target, and that's at least he got it sort of. Well, the post isn't
Well, he
really on.
didn't hit the target. He hit the post. And I think that was a massive, massive missed opportunity for Everton. It was their first big chance in the game. Up until that moment, Arsenal were the ones with the chances, even though Everton really did restrict them and make life very difficult for them, to the point where I would class the defensive performance as outstanding. But it was
Yeah,
Everton who took the first goal, actually, in this game. Idrissa Gana Gueye was on free kick duty after the previous free kick by
from
Calvert-Lewin knocked out Gabriel, the defender for Arsenal, the Brazilian international. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Ghana takes the free kicks for Senegal. Do they know something that we don't know? But really, there's no one else in that team to take a free kick. James Garner seems to have been banished off the free kicks, and it looks like that old technique where Ronaldo kind of gets it up and over the wall like a bullet. And I thought, oh my God, is you kidding me? And then I saw the replay and I was disappointed to see that it took a deflection, because it would have been the best goal I've ever seen, probably from an Everton player. And also, why did TNT show us the Arsenal crowd's reaction? I don't give a shit. We just scored a goal. Show the Everton players celebrating. You wouldn't see that in any other sort of fixture, but they want the pantomime. They want to create this drama, and obviously, Man City were winning at this point 2-0, and City winning 2-0, Everton winning 1-0. It was kind of a little bit hilarious for
yeah,
the
I think
Everton fans in the stadium.
you have to bring the context of the end of season game into this whole discussion, and what we take from this is a pinch of salt, really, because Arsenal did have momentum for 5-10 minutes, but as soon as it went 2-0, as you said before, Everton started to get a foothold in the game, and mentality plays into it, into different patterns in the game. And at this point in the game, yeah, they were 2-0 down, and I'm not saying they were playing badly, Arsenal, because they weren't. They were good. It was two good sides going at each other in a completely different style. And yeah, we got the free kick, and yeah, I was like, what the hell? Because it's Ghana Gay. It's not, and the way the ball went, as you said, like a knuckleball that over, and it kind of spins in the corner. It didn't look like it deflected originally. It just looked like an absolute wonder hit with swerve, and yeah, and then it was deflected. But it seemed a good strike anyway. The trajectory
Mm.
of the original strike seemed good. So you win your own luck, don't you? And Everton did rode the luck and then got the 1-0 up. So yeah, they did well to get
I
into
was
that.
really happy with that goal. I was really happy to see Everton winning the match, and not just about finishing 15th and that extra 3.1 million ahead of Brentford, because Brentford lost anyway, but just to show that we're building something and we could compete in around the top 10 on points, which is a magnificent achievement considering we survived on the final day of last season, and we'd be 22 points ahead of the relegation zone anyway, even without winning that game, without the points deduction. If you're new here, welcome to Follow Everton. Just joining us, we're just talking about the first half at the moment. I'd just like to say a big thank you to all for watching, especially throughout the season as well. A particular big thank you to Mr. Toffees and Richo65, who are VIP members. What that means is they are effectively paying for the streams, in terms of all the technical stuff we have to pay for, with the hosting platform, etc. So thank you so much for that. Information on how you can become a VIP member is scrolling along the bottom of the screen right now, youtube.com/follow Everton/join. If you can't become a VIP, then give us a subscribe. And of course, smash the like button right now, wherever you're watching, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching on X, give us a follow on there and you can retweet the stream. That would be great. Um, it didn't take long for Arsenal to get back into it. 7 minutes. I think it was it 7 minutes.
It was like 5 minutes, wasn't it,
Yeah,
really?
it wasn't very long, and I didn't quite catch what happened, Basil. Tarkovsky running in off the touchline. What was all that about?
Uh, Hang on, I'm just thinking of the goal now. There was yeah, it was Tomiyasu's goal, wasn't it? With his right foot. For me, it was another overload. Arsenal getting as many players forward as they could, including fullbacks, and he was like the free man. Well, why was he the free man? I don't know, but it wasn't the first shot he had. I think he had three up to there, and he's a fullback. So
Mm.
if you're leaving that much space, eventually they're going to get in. And this was one of those where they got a good chance and they scored it.
I know it's a great finish as well, but I don't quite understand why Tarkovsky was running back on to the pitch. Were they all
Was that
thrown off?
when he was injured?
Well, they were all
I,
thrown off by something, but
I think it
to,
was sort of second phase of play, maybe, and they all got pushed back into the box. They were quite deep in the box, including the midfielders. So by the time he goes in, there's no midfielder near him to get to it.
mm. Anyway, moving on into that second half, we'd have to watch that back, wouldn't we, Dave?
I think we need to see that.
The second half, Everton don't make any changes. Arsenal at this point are aware Man City are winning 2-1 against West Ham. Kudus with an unbelievable overhead kick for the Hammers in David Moyes' last game, and Everton are quite restrictive in their approach. They're stopping Arsenal from. I'm hearing background noise. I don't like background noise during a stream. It's not you over here. Very restrictive. No, please don't interrupt. 300 people watching.
What?
Arsenal were restricted by Everton's very diligent approach, restricting all the spaces and just stopping them getting a foothold in the game. And it looked to be slipping away from Arsenal, didn't it, David? The early stages of that second half where they started to panic, make substitutions. It was quite hilarious watching the crowd. It was quite hilarious watching the crowd react to everything that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, they just struggled to break us down, really. We played such a sort of narrow formation, midfield narrow five. James Garner as a centre mid, not really a winger, so he
Yeah,
was naturally coming inside. McNeil wanted to find his pockets in the midfield, so we made it really hard to play through, and we let them play it out wide. And I suppose that exposes the weaknesses of the fullbacks, really. But for the amount of chances they got through, they got out wide, we did deal with it quite well. Obviously rode our luck, but as you say,
yeah.
Arsenal fans got quite frustrated. But I think they deep down knew that they were not going to win today. I mean, I was with some Arsenal fans this morning. It just happened to be that I don't know, and they said they didn't expect to be winning the league. So I think there was a reality there, and I think that City going 2-0 up early, and even the 2-1 definitely
They're
gave them.
just showing some chances actually here in front of me. One into Tomiyasu at the back post in the first half, then another one into Trossard at the back post. There's one where Martinelli sells Jared Branthwaite, goes in and out. And then in
Yeah,
the second half, played in behind, pulled back, Odegaard, and it's an amazing save by Jordan Pickford. And that's one of the key chances you were talking about. Of course, then there's another one, Odegaard, out wide to Martinelli, chipped over to the back post, and then it hits the post again. Emile Smith Rowe. Another one in the second half. It was all down Martinelli trying to get on expose Young. Havertz heads it over. So there was loads of chances there, David, and Everton rode their luck.
a lot.
And Arsenal certainly should have scored, but you still felt like Everton were in control, and Everton defended so resiliently, and that if we could just pick a pass and get a bit of composure on the counter attack, we'd get something. There was the chance with Calvert-Lewin where he cuts in on his right foot.
Yeah,
It's a comfortable save for the keeper, but it's a very nice move from Calvert-Lewin. But apart from that, Everton's chances only really were few and far between.
No,
um,
I mean,
waiting to pick a pass and then making bad decisions in the final third on the counter attack.
I think that by that point, as you said, the DCL chance, City are now 3-1 up, so the game's almost gone, and Arsenal are just looking to find a goal for the sake of the fans. And we know Calvert Lewin isn't really that strong when it comes to running in from like the edge of the box and having a shot from distance. It's not really his forte. But
Normally
he,
falls over the ball at that point.
that's why I think earlier with the one that hit the post, I was like, yeah, that's not a bad effort, because for him, that's not his strength. And the one where he cuts in, shimmies in, beats the defender. Again, it was a nice little move from him, and the shot didn't really set out wide enough to really trouble the Golden Glove holder.
I'm quite impressed by fuck off. I'm quite impressed by Everton, how defensively diligent they were in that game, and how much of a problem it was for Arsenal to break us down. But when I saw those chances, I thought they did have a lot of chances to
They
score.
did. They
From
did.
my perspective, I was frustrated that Everton, when they did get the counter-attacking moves, certainly there was one with Yusuf Chamiti, there was another one, making bad decisions, time and time again, not releasing the ball at the right time, and not punishing Arsenal. There's one there at the end, David, before Arsenal score, which we'll talk about in a minute, where Chamiti is in a very good situation, doesn't release the pass, and Everton would have
Yeah.
been in. Then there was another one, a 4v2 situation, where he doesn't release it. You got Decore in the middle. How did we not score?
I don't know. That I thought Everton were pretty, obviously the defensive stuff we've talked about. I thought they pretty good in that second half at kind of getting the foot down and making a good pass. Is just like a calm pass it
Not going to
into
make me go any faster. It's just going to piss me off.
around the defensive third in terms of getting out. I think Everton kind of sniffed that Arsenal. They load a lot of people forward. They almost just leave the centre backs and midfielder. They don't leave much. So if you can break that first pass, if you can break that first line, you will get in. And I think the likes of Decore was superb at doing that. Even like Onana and got the midfield were
There's
really
been a
good.
few. There's been a few games like that, David, hasn't there, where teams have pushed on really late to try and get a goal and left loads of space for us to exploit, and we've always been like just trying to pick a pass to get them behind them, just that one pass to kind of take advantage of how desperate the opposition are, and we've just not made that pass well enough.
Do you
I'm
think it
just
was
gonna
right? Do you think it was the right sub to bring Chamiti on?
no.
Because
I preferred I would have preferred Beto to come on. I think he likes Chamiti because he's quite tenacious, but Lily is also in agreement that we should have gone with Beto.
yeah, I just
I
would.
think that I really think Beto would have been a better option. Because Chamiti was shit. He was absolute shit when he came on.
Just thought Beto hasn't played much. It's a little opportunity, and that mainly because he's fast, and I think on the counter attack, and he's really strong. I know the ball kind of bounces off him, but when you're up against those centre backs, I would have liked to have seen Beto in that little battle and try and get that ball where Chamiti
I
gets
know.
Gabriel Jesus actually is the one who defends it off him, but he's going to go 1v1, and I think Beto in that position could knock it off and not be chased back so easily. So it was
Beto is.
but I can see why I
Thanks,
can see
Kevin.
why Chamiti's come on the last few games, because he's obviously worked hard this season, and Dyche wants to give him a
He's
chance.
not scored all year.
No, he's not had many He comes on when we're losing. The only games he's really had a chat, is since who did we play at home with him 2 weeks ago? The Brentford. Since that's the only real game he's had to bed into the team as like a full game.
Just looking at Arteta, he said he was an Evertonian before the kickoff, which was quite funny. I get the argument before we talk about the goal and wrap things up. I get the argument with the Chimiti Beto one. Beto, as Peter Duggan is rightly saying in the comments, had the concussion injury, and I wonder whether that's a deciding factor in preference of who to come on. Maybe he's not quite right. But Chimiti in other games at homes looked really quite effective and dangerous, and a bit of a not a nightmare for defenders, but just making causing problems. Ultimately, I want to see goals from our strikers. And next season, I think we've got to persist with these three. I don't think we're going to rip it up and sign another striker. I think
Mm.
it's the wide players that I want looking at. Danjuma and Harrison, I want upgrades on them. Ashley Young, I want a massive upgrade. I'm going to come on to him in a moment. But Beto would have been able to hold the ball up, probably bring others into play and cause some danger, but he's a bit erratic with his finishing at times. I can see why he went with Chimiti, but just so disappointed because in those moments there when Arsenal give the ball away and we can kind of run up the other end and score, we didn't play the final pass and we didn't make good decisions. And then it goes in the other direction, and Manchester City are just being presented the trophy, which is a bit annoying because I would like to see Everton win something one day. Greedy, cheating bastards. But it's a late goal for Arsenal. It's a sucker punch. They didn't deserve it at this point. I was thinking Everton have been absolutely magnificent, outstanding, defensively, so resilient, good on the ball as well, good keeping possession, just really nice with the technical play and how they didn't panic. They were just really good today, David. And then and we can talk about that in a little bit more detail, really, because the way that Garner tucked in and intercepted things. Onana was fantastic with his tackling and positional awareness and his composure. Drissa Garner-Gay, brilliant again. Branthwaite, who really did struggle in that first half, got better and better as the game went on. And Tarkovsky was solid. Coleman winning his duels. Young, up until that point, I thought did fine. But, he's always got to have someone holding his hand when Martinelli or one of the others are running at him, which is annoying. You you fullback and you can't defend 1v1. What is the fucking point of you? But and Calvert-Lewin, who was admirable, and Doucouré, it was the more other side of the spectrum today, rather than his typical sort of anonymous performance. He was really good as well. But the goal comes because Ashley Young decides, rather than play for position and boot it long, to go across. And it all comes from our own mistake. We losing the ball. We're in a good position, and then we goes into a bad position. And Young plays it square, flat to no one. Gabriel Jesus nips in, but it's a completely stupid pass when you're putting yourself under pressure. And there's two elements to this. I'm utterly furious with Ashley Young for making a stupid pass and for costing Everton a point. But it's a handball by Gabriel Jesus. He's got his arm low, but the rule was that you couldn't kind of control it with your hand and then go and score. He controls it. He makes a gesture towards the ball, runs through, goes to Odegaard. It's a bit of a sloppy kamikaze style goal. Eventually goes in the net. I felt the sinking feeling. Arsenal players are absolutely gutted, which is devastated. Imagine getting this far and then still losing the league. But and Pwep is a prick as well. But hate everyone. But Michael Oliver doesn't rule that goal out, David. So can we have your closing thoughts on the match in combination with this? How we managed to throw away what should have been a fantastic performance and scrump it and come away with nothing.
Some will say that this was always going to happen. Basically, Arsenal were going to have to they were going to find some way to get this goal, even if it was something scrappy like this. But the fact is, Everton were their own downfall in the fact they gave the ball. That was such a poor pass, square, aimless. I don't know. It was just a terrible pass, wasn't it? And you're thinking, oh, Ashley Young. And I think as soon as it's Ashley Young, everyone will say he was terrible and dreadful for the whole game, even though it was only really that pass that was considerably damaging to our performance. There was a few moments he struggled with, and obviously doesn't have the pace, but nor does Coleman. Can't latch onto balls going forward either.
The two with them, but in all honesty, they defended admirably today, but it's handball, as everyone's saying. How can you not rule that? It should be a free kick to Everton. Everton should go with 1-1 and get a really solid point.
What he does, is he doesn't move, somehow keeps his arm right glued to his body and touches it with his arms. So so they will probably say it was in a natural position. But does that give you the right to
Moved his arm with he used it. He
make
controlled
the
it with his
arm
arm. It's
go
handball.
that?
It's handball anywhere on the pitch. He's handballed it. It's a free kick to
Does he
Everton.
handball it onto Tarkovsky, and Tarkovsky, it comes off him? So they might make the argument that it wasn't. It was
Scott Carson's just getting hugged by Pep. How old's he now? He looks about 70.
I don't know.
Not played for them. He's winning his fourth Premier League.
I don't know what the rationale is I don't know what the rationale is behind this decision. I as much as I'd like to see referees go against the VAR sometimes, this is one where you can't understand why. Yeah, I can't work it out.
I'm gutted. In my opinion, it was a very, very solid performance from Everton today. We've been robbed by a very bad pass and a very poor decision by the referee. I think that's it from me. I'm going to a barbecue. David, by all means, if you've got 347 people watching, I was told I had to be ready for 6:30. If you'd like to continue on for 5 minutes or so and run through the comments, that would be fantastic. I think the audience have missed having you and your input. And I'll speak to you later. Is that okay, or should we wrap things up? It's up to you.
It's fine yeah, it's fine. But
Okay.
what I need to talk to you, don't I? When are you going to be back?
When I'm back from this barbecue.
Okay.
Up the toffees. Don't get too disheartened. I'll leave you in Basil's capable company. Fuck Arsenal. Fuck City. Oh.
Wrong way round. Kicking me out. I'd be going to the barbecue. No, I'll stay here, and we'll go through the comments.
I'd rather stay here.
It looks like it's really nice weather for a barbecue. I'm in North London. It's quite warm. Unfortunately, couldn't get to the game today. So let's see what people are saying. Mr. Toffees, what a load of shit, clear handball. So looks like everyone's pretty conclusive on this handball from the comments. We shot ourselves in the foot. Peter, I guess that's in relation to the very poor pass. I mean, let me know in the comments. Is the general consensus this was quite a good Everton performance, and we were hard done by the referee? I mean, we did rode our luck a lot in terms of the amount of chances Arsenal made. I'd also like to get your thoughts on Jared Branthwaite, because I thought he struggled a little bit more than he has done in previous games. I mean, he's just been excellent this season, a colossal. But I think, against Haaland, he was kind of showing up with that pace and movement. And I think today, again, a little bit of pace and movement and get the wrong side. And he struggled to kind of live with, there was maybe 2 moments where it kind of led to an opportunity. And don't get me wrong, Tarkovsky as well had 1 or 2 of those moments where he lost a player. I think one with Havertz. And in some ways, Branthwaite I actually didn't mind it, because I don't want Branthwaite to leave. I don't think anyone does. So when I see him making a mistake, I was almost like, yeah, well, maybe somebody's watching and will think he's not good enough, and then he won't go. But conversely, it just might reduce his fee down. Kevin's saying 100 million for Branthwaite. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of quotes on 50 mil, roughly 50 mil, which seems a bit low. Ashley Guns is a liability, but it looks like we're going to have to see him for another season. Peter saying he looked vulnerable and that he should have seen it, Dyche. Maybe he should have come off. He had Godfrey on the bench. He seems reluctant to use any substitutions. If anything, it's like we played that game to try and cause an upset and be professional about it, and not put in a 5-0 or 5-1 that we did either last season or the year before, and then you go in and like you don't really use your subs and you don't manage the game. I don't know. To me, it just felt like he was giving Chimiti a run out because it was the last game of the season and it was near the end. Anyway, yeah, Godfrey could have come on. I don't know why he didn't. There's a lot of comments on Ashley Young. There is a lot of comments here, and he's got another contract offer on the table. So let's see what he does about that. I'm finding it hard to get through the comments and not see a comment that says Ashley Young was at blame. Ashley Young was a disaster. Ashley Young is a liability. Yeah. Yeah, if any of the other Follow Everton pundits want to come on for 5-10 minutes, then jump on. But I'm just going to keep rolling through these comments. How would we rate Ashley Young out of 10? At best, a 1 being kind from Steve G. I thought he dealt with things okay. I don't think he's revolutionary. He's never going to be. Because he's 38 and he's past it, really. But I thought he was okay. I just thought he made that terrible mistake. Couple of things maybe he didn't get quite in the right place and let the attacker through. And you could argue that some of those chances we must have conceded about eight decent sort of chances that we managed to avoid by last minute blocks and saves and them hitting the post. And I'm sure a few of them, when we look back at this and study it, are going to be down to Young on that side. But yeah, I'll give him just like a 4 or something, 5. It's like an average middle of the road performance. But I think generally the whole team has to get, I think you've got to give them 7s plus because of the way that they defended as a unit and the way we broke and didn't just lump the ball upfield and look like we were never getting close to their goal. It was a good performance. See where we're at here. Still Ashley Young and the handball. Thanks for joining us again, Kevin. And Mr. Toffees, I'm getting your notification that you have been a member for 4 months. So thank you very much for that. And I would second that. Go into the pub and have a drink and kind of not forget this game, but just enjoy the evening, and you can take some solace from the performance that we put in today when there was very little on the line. Though we need a new next season is very clear. We need a new owner and a new manager. Now that's controversial because, well, everyone knows we need a new owner and we need to sort the financial situation out somehow, which seems never ending. But the manager thing, let us know in the comments. I'm sure we will really go to town on this over the next month or so in terms of reviewing the season and what lies ahead. But does he go? What's the gut reaction after this? I mean, we had 48 points without the... Is it 48 points without the deduction? I think we'd be 20, 22, 23 clear of relegation. That's a big jump from last season and the year before. So it's hard to look past it and say that you should replace him. Obviously, you've got Moyes out of the job. That's the only one realistically who could probably come to us from the obvious names. Let us know if you agree or disagree. Comment if you think he should stay as well, because I know it's easy to comment if you feel strongly that he needs to go, but obviously then there's just an element of bias. So Peter's saying we should take 45 to 50 million for Onan and replace him with Wilfred Ndidi. That is not a bad shout. I don't know the status of Wilfred Ndidi at the moment. I don't know whether he's on a free transfer. I assume he's out of contract if you're saying that. And yeah, he was a good player. He was a really good player actually when they were in the Premier League. But they'll be back in it now, and I don't know what's the situation there. Maybe he'll want to move clubs. We have to be looking for these little wins, let's say, that the free transfers, the Tarkovskis and the likes, because I think we got to focus the cash spends towards attacking players, particularly out wide. We need players with more pace, but that can also put in the shift that Dyche demands of them, because we've seen with more flair players, they will just sit on the bench basically, and that's a hard balance to find, because the likes of those hard workers that we've had over the years, Townsend and McNeil and Harrison, they don't tend to be quick players. They tend to make their trade by doing that hard shift and being good at crossing. So yeah, I don't know how you get a bit of both in the profile of the player. Thanks, Becky, for your support. It's very kind. Yeah, we could do a phone in. I don't know whether we can just jump on this stream. There's that many people on the stream. It might make more sense to just do it on here. I've not actually hosted the phone in, so I don't exactly know how the lads organize it. Ryan, if you have any guidance on that at this stage, then post in. We don't need comments about herbal medicine in this, if that's okay. I've got back down to the bottom of the comments. Let's see what Peter's saying. What really changed is when we went on a good run tactically and saw nothing change. I felt it was the players turning on towards the end. They pulled together and the manager did nothing really. I kind of think I see what you're saying there, that this kind of last window came out of the players' drive to just get us over the line in effect. I just find it odd we had we're going to have to do this in the season breakdown, really understand somehow why we went off a cliff. And I imagine the points deduction, the 10 points deduction, will come into play of some of that as an excuse. But it seemed to go, we had that 4 months without winning a game, and it just can't really understand how we went from a side defending well, picking up results, particularly away from home, and creating opportunities, and that we heard a lot about XG and positive XG, and then we were basically creating nothing. Were we found out by other teams in the tactics? I'd like to say no, because I think we've kind of gone back a bit to these tactics in the last few weeks and found ways through. So it's hard to put your finger on what it is. I believe if anyone wants to come on, probably the best way to do it is to message. Well, if you put a message in the chat, I can maybe directly message. I don't know if I can even do that. That's why we need another person on here. Who was your man of the match today? That's what I'm going to pose the question. While I hopefully get a couple of comments in about that, I am going to ask, if anyone hasn't subscribed, as Ryan would say, please do so. Please press the like button. There's like 350 plus people watching and 3 likes. So that's 1 like in every 100. So either we're doing something wrong or people are pressing the button. So if you could, we'd appreciate that. But yeah, I've said my piece. No one's commenting about the man of the match. I'm gonna give it to Decore, I think. I think he was everywhere. He was like in the attack and he was in the defense. So I'd give it to him. Peter, yes, I can put it in. It's just, yeah, I suppose I can put it in because then nobody can just jump on it. I'll see you pop in. Right, I've posted that in. So if anyone wants to come on, click the link, come in. It's a casual chat. And yeah, well, I'll admit you in and we'll see how it goes. I've got a little bit more time. The computer's on 15% battery, which isn't helping. So, you know, I don't know how long that's going to last, but probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes at least on the stream. So yeah, I think Decore was my man of the match. I think he was back towards what he was doing for us earlier in the season when the flicks and the link up with Calvert-Lewin and his ability to get the ball down and be strong and stop defenders getting into it. I think that's crucial and it enables us to be just more coherent in the attack. Is another one who's really like in his 30s now though. So I don't know how long and how consistent he's going to be able to do that. Garnegay, thought he was pretty good. Obviously got the goal, albeit with that massive deflection. I may as well kind of run through the player ratings, I suppose, unless well, the other lads, if they want to come on later, they can do a separate player rating video. I thought Pickford was probably 8 out of 10. He didn't really do much wrong. Distribution was good. I didn't see him like weighing any balls completely out of play. Short passes were fine. He did play a very nervous, long, low pass, which I don't think he intended, but Garner controlled it really well. And he made some crucial saves, like the one from Odegaard, you know, to keep us in. I think there was the fingertip one, but it might have been offside anyway. So he was really good. Then Coleman. I thought Coleman, we're going to have to adapt to playing with Coleman if he stays on. I don't think he can latch onto the same balls that he could have maybe sprinted onto going forward. I think you've got to play the ball closer to him. Yeah, he's going to need probably to adapt to him. But at the same time, his positional experience, his strength, and his ability to get in the right place and stand them up and force them into the angle, into the wrong areas. You know, I thought he did that quite well, but also got caught out on aerial balls by overloading, which is probably not his fault. So I will give Coleman, I give him a 6.5. I don't think it's quite a 7, like a good, like a top decent performance, more than a decent performance. I thought it was a decent performance against a strong team, but I thought also Arsenal did create stuff from him. Centre backs didn't have their greatest game, I would say, like their most consistently good game, but I think they were good for most of the game and just had a couple of moments. Tarkowski getting a yellow card for a bit of a dodgy tackle, but I really enjoyed his tackle on I think Havertz in the first half. It was a good tackle. And Branthwaite, who, as I said before, he had a few moments where he kind of struggled, but at the same time, he also played well in parts, particularly the second half where he was there. He was always there when like the ball was loose and stuff, and he got a really good block in between him and Pickford, I think, to prevent what should have probably been an Arsenal goal. So Tarkowski 7, Branthwaite 7. I think both of them. Yeah, I think that would be fair. And I think then Ashley Young, I touched on before. He struggled at moments. I thought he was decent in moments, and he struggled in moments defending 1v1, but he had a lot of support, so it didn't always come through. And therefore, I gave him a 4, and that's partly to do with just costing us the goal, really. And even though it was really handball, it was a terrible pass. For a man of his experience, how does he make that decision to play inside? He's like the rush of blood of Everton, actually stringing a few passes together, and then he thinks he can do that. You mean at the same time, Branthwaite played one in the first half, which out of defence, left-footed, tried to sort of drill it over the top to Coleman at fullback, and that got intercepted, and that could have cost a goal as well. So I mean, maybe it's too harsh in some respects. So there was a few moments like that which kind of underline why we don't play out constantly. But I thought all round we did. The midfield were really good. They always covered the space. They never seemed to get to look like they were not in the zone. I mean, there's 3 of them, but Garnagay sitting, Onana's basically sitting as well, but just in front, getting some good tackles in, sliding in. He's strong. He offers an outlet. He probably won't be playing for us next season, unfortunately, but he's probably the one you'd have to sell if the reports are true and we do have to sell. And it's kind of been confirmed by Thelwell and Dyche. He's probably the one to sell. Stevie's come into the call. I wonder whether he's on his way back from the Emirates. I can't see you in the lobby unless it's a different Stevie. Where are you, Stevie? Let's try and get him in. Hello? Can you hear us? Are you there?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay.
Just about. We'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. There's going to be a delay.
So can you hear me?
I'll let you talk. What did you think of it?
Hello.
Hello? You're at Vauxhall?
Bit patchy then.
Yeah, if you talk solidly and I don't interrupt, it might work.
Hopefully the signal will pick up some of this. See, you've probably gone through a lot of stuff, but hello?
I can hear you.
See if I switch the camera off, see if that's any better.
Yeah, turn the camera off. Right, try now.
No better now.
No.
That Vauxhall.
I think there's like a 2-minute lag on this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What did you think of the game?
It's very patchy.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to have to leave it.
Just signal's not good enough.
No, even though you're miles away from the ground, but
I am absolutely miles from the ground, but there's still rubbish signal.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That was better. Try now.
Well, I switched my video off. But it's been an interesting day. To a start, really. Just an interesting game to go to. First of all, one where probably should have picked up something from the game, despite obviously Arsenal needing to win. I think Everton's performance was very commendable today. Then you have the whole sort of atmosphere and the kamikaze that went with the final day. It's quite interesting to be part of that. There was a lot of exchanges between Everton and Arsenal fans today. But yeah, walking towards the ground on the way, there were fans chatting and Arsenal fans, of course, chatting to fans, and they just didn't expect that City would drop points today. But when things kicked off, you had that sense from the Arsenal fans that they were really right for it, and it was kind of that crazy atmosphere that they've had since they've been challenging for the title. I mean, it's probably not easy for them to kind of lose the title, but I thought, looking at it from our point of view, we approached the game in an absolutely professional way. You can't say that we did anything soft. I mean, in the end, we've gone down to, you know, the kind of inevitable breakaway goal, and it looked a bit messy at the end, but wait for the train to pull away. But in the end, you know, we've lost, but we probably should have drawn that game 1-1, although they did hit the woodwork a lot. It's just the atmosphere. It's just, you know, it's quite crazy. And what stood out was the rumours that were going around that West Ham had equalised. That sent a bit of a shockwave around the ground. And I think all of this is very distracting. Very, very, very distracting. I could get some Arsenal fans on, plenty around here. Very distracting for the Arsenal players, very distracting for the Arsenal fans. And, you know, if we feel deflated having lost, imagine how they feel they've lost the league. But, you know, that's their own fault. They shouldn't have left it to the last game. But, yeah, it was one of those games where you had all the songs out. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin's got his own song now. You had, I suppose, pretty much everything that you've heard in the past. Dead Cars, just about every Everton song came out today. Fans were brilliant. Players were great as well. They came towards the end. They gave shirts away and donated towards the crowd. And the performance, I thought, was very disciplined, organised. It's kind of what you'd hoped it would be, but at the same time, I probably expected Everton to go down. You know, we lost 4-0 last year. It's a marked improvement on that. And, you know, but for a bit of luck, you know, Calvert-Lewin could have scored. It could have been even different. When Gay scored, I think everyone was in shock, to be honest with you. People just couldn't believe that I'd got in.
And it was at your end, right?
Oh, sorry, so many times.
It was at your end, Steve.
Obviously, it went in off second light to show the replays and all that. But at the time, it looked like it had come straight in, and, you know, kind of wild scenes, considering nothing right on the game. And I thought, you know, going in at 1-1 was deserved at half time, but obviously you just had that sense, that looming sense that Arsenal would kind of push it. But I think from Arsenal's point of view, they probably played this game with kind of almost like, that goal was at our end and right in front of me.
Did you say
yeah,
it was
and just to say the atmosphere was great. Everyone was standing throughout. And lots of fans were chatting, and there was lots of exchange with the away fans. Not always the nicest pleasantries. There was a lot of fingers pointing towards scores and a lot of other fingers going up. And you know, Everton's fans were reveling in the fact that, you know, they're kind of like almost like the pantomime villain today. If Everton had gone and nicked something, well, they did. They frustrated Arsenal for a long, long time. You know.
Yeah.
Previous games, we've not got really near them at the Emirates in the end, and this one we've done quite well. Defensively, solid again. Jay was excellent. I mean, I don't know. You've probably got a different perspective on it, because when you're at the ground, you kind of focus more on the kind of atmosphere, and the view's never as good as it is on TV, and you can't always see. You know, I don't know whether it was handball. I was praying that when he went over to the monitor that Michael Oliver was going to overturn it, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's made any difference to our league position. It's a shame that we don't have that momentum to take into that season, but still a good effort. Still a really good effort. You know. Okay, now how's the signal? How's the signal?
It's still lagging when I ask you things, but it was okay while you were on a roll.
It's more lagging with the camera.
Yeah, and we've got Peter about to come in. Yeah, I think they The handball, I mean, it hit his hand, so make of that what you will. It did hit his
Well,
arm.
was it a handball in your opinion? Because I've not seen a proper replay.
Well, yeah, I think every Everton fan would call it handball. And I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you might find it difficult to say it wasn't handball either. So on that
Very hard
basis,
done by.
you wonder why it was given. I mean, the ball strikes, yeah, it's sort of mid-height pass, isn't it? That's drilled across. And it just, Jesus is very clever because he leans into it, but in a way that his whole body is into it, not just his arm. So it looks like he's just controlled it with his chest or something, but actually it's his arm, and it's halfway up, so it's sort of on the elbow. I don't know. I'd be really interested to see the referee's report on the justification of that. Stevie, I'm gonna bring in Peter if he's ready. Give me a sign if you're ready. Yeah. Welcome. How are you doing?
Could be better. Wish we'd won, but it is what it is, isn't it, mate? I mean, what more can you say?
No. Do you agree it was like quite a decent Everton performance?
Yeah.
Though there's stuff we can take from.
Well, I suppose the main thing is that the season's done now, and I'll drop out.
Well, you've got to get your signal and your. Do you want me to drop him out? Thanks for coming on, Stevie.
Okay. I mean, yeah, he's on dial-up signal there, isn't he?
It's hard to get the thread, but I think we got the gist of what he was saying, and I think a lot of the themes that he discussed were pretty much what we said. Arsenal created a lot, Everton rode a lot, but probably should have got something out of the game, and they didn't.
They're the better team, but we took it to them, to be fair. I don't think it was an awful performance by Everton, but I think it was... I mean, the only thing that I could say was really bad about the game for us today was the fact that for some reason Sean Dyche didn't seem to recognise the danger with Ashley Young being on that left side. I mean, he was clearly vulnerable in the first half. That first goal, in my opinion, was his fault. I mean, the cross comes right through him. Like, he gets back, makes an effort to block it, but it just goes right through him. And then the second one, well, I mean, I've been hearing the handball thing. I'll be honest, mate, I think it is handball, but I think the reason why it was given is because for some reason I think Michael Oliver's convinced that it's hit above the sleeve. And I don't think it is above the sleeve. I think it's literally right on the bicep. I don't think it was down towards the elbow, but it's definitely on the bicep in my opinion. And I don't think it touches the sleeve. I think it's under it. But for some reason, Michael Oliver doesn't seem to have seen it like that. And he clearly motions his arm towards it. So if anything, that should be a clear indicator that it's a handball because he's motioned his arm towards it. I don't think he meant to handball it. I think he's clearly meant to catch that on his deltoid area, like above the shoulder. But he's obviously mistimed it a little bit. But for some reason, he's got away with it. Well, I don't know why I'm saying for some reason. We all know why he's got away with it. I mean, in many ways, it's just incompetent decision-making by the referees. But in all honesty, mate, I blame it on the fact that Sean Dyche didn't recognise the danger of Ashley Young being on that left side. I mean, it was clear before that second goal went in for Arsenal that he was being targeted and he was looking tired. Like, he looked really knackered and he looked vulnerable to making a mistake, and that's exactly what happened in the end. And I thought that Dyche should have acted. He should have got him off and put Godfrey on, because Godfrey, look, he's not our best player, but he would have done a damn sight better at defending than Ashley Young did, I can tell you that.
I think the only thing I can think of why he didn't bring Godfrey on is like he's only used him at right back. He's not used him at left back like Ancelotti did and other managers, and maybe he just didn't want to mess around too much. He definitely wouldn't have put Coleman at left back. So I think
didn't he play him at left back against was it Forest or was it Brentford or someone like that? I'm not quite sure. I think he put him at left back in one of those games. It didn't work out, don't get me wrong, but I think it was
one option would have been to put Michael Keane on and play Godfrey at centre back and play Branthwaite.
Michael Keane, mate. I don't think I would have put him on. Well, do you know what? No, I would have put Michael Keane on, but I would have put him on up front. I wouldn't have put him at the back because, to be fair, he scores goals, mate.
Instead of Chimiti.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I'm not going to slag off Chimiti because you know it's not his fault. He's only 19. He's not even 20 years old. It's his first Premier League season. He's just a kid. It's not his fault. You know what I mean?
He's got good characteristics, and he looks the most similar to Calvert-Lewin in terms of what we have at the club. So I think it makes sense to try and ready him somewhat. Calvert-Lewin was playing at 19, wasn't he, for us? But he was generally playing off the wing, and he had Romelu Lukaku to link up with. So you know, it's a lot more challenging for him in this side.
Oh no, he started breaking into the team after Lukaku was sold. He started playing for us on a regular basis when Allardyce came in, and that was when he started getting used.
Yeah.
I think
he had moments where before that he would play. He played a few games. He didn't play every week like he started to, but he did play a few games with Barkley and Lukaku. Was there anything particularly you wanted to pick up on from the game or Everton generally?
Well, with Everton generally, I mean, if I'm honest, mate, the transfer window going into it, I said before, one of the things, I'll start off on a positive topic of conversation. I think in the transfer window, I think one thing's been made abundantly clear is that one of these two have got to go, Branthwaite or Onana. I would personally sell Onana because I think he's replaceable, whereas I think Branthwaite isn't. And I think you could get the most profit for Onana, but you can replace him on a free for Wilfred Ndidi because he's out of contract with Leicester in the summer. So he becomes available. They're coming up. I mean, if he doesn't sign a new contract, he'll want to go somewhere else. We could use some of the money for Onana to pay off his wages, and then we could use the rest of it to sign, what we need, which is essentially, in my opinion, a couple of one or two young fullbacks and a couple of wingers. I think another player who I'd consider selling. This might be a controversial one, but I would sell Decore, because I think we haven't got long before he's on, before his legs have gone. I think we saw signs that his legs had gone this season, because once he came back from injury, his form dropped, mate. It dropped pretty badly. So I would sell him because I think you could still get roughly 15 to 20 million pound for him. Combine that with the fee you get with Onana, maybe you can put it towards a couple of wingers, because in my opinion, the one thing we could do if we sold Decore is we could move McNeil into the middle, because I think McNeil belongs in the middle, because out wide, he just doesn't fit for me because he's all left foot. Now, I know some people have put this argument to me that Kevin Sheedy was all left foot, though, but Kev Sheedy was world-class, mate. He had the technique of a world-class player. Dwight McNeil doesn't have that. I think he belongs in the middle, because the one thing he offers that no one else in that front three, or that front four, whatever you want to call it, does, he offers a shot from distance that can hit the target. And I don't think that anyone else in that team can hit the target from distance. But Dwight McNeil has proven that he can do that. Idrissa Gueye's proven it as well, but he's not going to get forward that much for us. At times he's going to be sitting in defensive midfield. You can't rely on him to get too high up the pitch all the time. No. But that's one of the things that I think we need to do is buy a couple of wingers and buy a couple of fullbacks. One person who I would still consider trying to go for if he hasn't got a club already, who's also out of contract in the summer, is Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth, because I think he could be a good potential backup left back. Because right now, I think we've seen with Mikalenko out, for some reason, Dyche seems to want to continue to play young. But again, you got to back him on that, because who else has he got to work with? There's no young left backs coming through the academy that are good enough. So we need a backup. I think Lloyd Kelly will be the answer, because he is on a free and he can fill in that left back position. But for me, that's how we need to operate on the transfer market. But if I'm honest, mate, I don't trust that anything good is going to come of the transfer market. To move on to me separate topic of conversation, which is the negative one, the one where I'm probably going to go on a bit of a rant. Yeah, I've about had it with Sean Dyche as our manager, mate. I really have. I mean, but I've had it even more with Moshiri as our owner, because I think I've taken about as much as I can from Moshiri, because he's a cancer to this football club. He really is. He's wasted all the money, couldn't get anything fundamentally right. I mean, for me, a new owner's got to come in and they've got to change the manager. But if they're going to change the manager, it can't just be the manager that changes. There has to be staff below the first team managing the under-23s, the under-21s and the under-18s who are experienced and they have to know the first team manager. The first team manager has to know them, because I think if you have that, you've got a chain of communication down the layers of the club. You've got communication between all sides, and there's going to be like you can formulate a layout for how you want to develop young players and progress them towards, the first team. Because I think we're going to have to do that now that we've been charged for FFP breaches and we've gone skint with what Mashiri's done. We need to start relying on the academy. The problem is right now we're run like a charity case, because with Dyche in charge, well, forget about Dyche being in charge. It's been the case since before he was even given the job. The problem is we keep employing former Everton players like Leighton Baines and so on. Like they've got no experience running an academy team at any level, let alone Premier League level. So if they haven't got the experience, you can't rely on them to develop any young players. They might be fans of the club, they might get the club, but that lack of coaching experience, that lack of experience in developing young talent is clearly what's hindering us, in my opinion. You look back when we were under Moyes, we had experienced coaches developing young players. They were never world beaters. I mean, when we got players through like, Jack Rodwell, Dan Gosling, Tony Ibbott, Leon Osman, the only world beater was Wayne Rooney, but he was the only one. The rest of them were all just, they weren't world beaters, but what they did do was they met the criteria to be a Premier League level player. And that was what was key to them getting in our first team. And they fit into the team because Moyes knew what to do with them. There was obviously a plan there from the beginning, how to get the young players into the team. Right now, I don't see that. I mean, for example, Sean Dyche puts Dobbin on against Chelsea. Dobbin scores against Chelsea. Dobbin doesn't get another opportunity in the team, and then unfortunately he gets an injury in one of the warm-ups. But it's like, give the kids a run of games, because they keep like selling all our young players, and they're selling them for buttons. I mean, look at Ellis Sims and what he's doing for Coventry right now, mate. We could have got 20 to 25 million for him. We could have got that for Calvert-Lewin, and saved ourselves from FFP charges and kept Ellis Sims, and he could have been doing for us what he's doing for Coventry now. But instead, we sold Ellis Sims for a very low price. We didn't get enough for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we haven't got enough for most of our players, and I think it comes down to the lack of development and the lack of a plan to get them to make progress towards the first team. I mean, if Dobbin's not getting any opportunities, Sims never got an opportunity. I mean, there's a whole list: Tyus Brown and Luke Garbett, Ryan Ledson, Hallam Hope, John Joe Kenny. All these players never developed to meet what it takes to be a Premier League player. And I feel that comes down to a lack of coaching and development. And that's probably because we kept employing players who have no experience. And I feel like the best way to go about changing this is when the new owners come in, if they employ a new manager, which I feel they should do. I'll get onto Dyche in a minute and how I feel about him and why. But the thing is, if they employ a new manager, they've got to give him say over who comes to manage our academy, because he needs to know who is underneath him, and he needs to have communication with them to lay down a plan for young players to develop into our first team, because then we can actually start, we won't have to worry about, FFP charges, because we can recruit more carefully then if we can produce young players. And that's just my opinion on it. I mean, people can disagree, but I don't think any of our ex-players have enough experience to develop young players. And moving on to Dyche, I mean, the reason why I'm not a fan of him is because, and why I don't think, I think he's getting praise. I think he's getting praise for something he doesn't deserve. I don't feel he did keep us up, mate. I feel what kept us up was the players turning it on towards the end. I mean, because, okay, we got a couple of results towards the end, but from a tactical perspective and from what was going on the pitch in terms of the way we played, what really changed? There was no change to the system. The players were still being played out of position. There was nothing tactically different, in my opinion. The substitutions were still poor. So I don't feel that Dyche did anything to really, change the way we played. He did include a few different players, but I feel like what really happened towards the end was a few of the players got together And there was something of like the players obviously pulled together and said, look, we need to like step it up a gear here because there's a real threat we could go down, but we've got a chance to escape and we need to do whatever it takes. Forest have been dropped points. Let's go out there and get some points. Whichever one of the players said that, me hats off to them, and me hats off to the players who stepped it up. I mean, honestly, mate, at the start of the season when I think you were on the phone in at the start of the season when we lost to Villa 4-0, I slagged off Idrissa Gueye. I really laid into Idrissa Gueye in that game. But having come towards the end, full credit to him, mate, because he really has turned the corner in terms of his form, and he contributed a big part to keeping us up this season. And you know, his goal against Brentford and Forest really contributed. His goal there today, I felt, contributed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it took a deflection, but so bloody what? I mean, it took a deflection, but so what? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think full credit to the players for keeping us up, because I think it was more them than Dyche, because nothing changed tactically. The only thing that changed was a few players actually started to turn it on towards the end, like they were motivated. And I wasn't convinced that Dyche had anything to do with that. I think it was them and them alone.
But I mean, what do you think was the reason then that we had that barren run for 4 months? The players just weren't turning it on. Do you put that down to anything particular?
I put it down to a lack of structure. I felt that, you know, we've heard Dyche go on a lot about XG, for example, right? But I don't want to come across as rude on the channel, but I basically said he can shove his XG where the sun doesn't shine, because it doesn't really matter about XG unless, you know, like if you have a structure of play, then XG, talk about it all you want. But I wasn't convinced there was any style or structure to the way we played. And I'm thinking, how are you going to say anything about XG? How can you be expected to score any goals if you don't have a plan or a structure to how you play? And that's what I put it down to. And I think the biggest giveaway was the players being played out of position. I mean, that run where he kept playing James Garner out wide on the right, and he did that again today. And in my opinion, it contributed nothing. It was still a terrible decision. And there was other things. I mean, Godfrey as a right back, when you've got Patterson available, is a joke. I don't know what the hell happened between him and Patterson, mate, but I don't like it, because there seems to be a pattern emerging. A lot of players he seems to be falling out with. A lot of players who I'm convinced could contribute a lot to this team, he seems to be falling out with them. He fell out with Ellis Sims. He fell out with he fell out with Patterson. He fell out with Damari Gray, and he had a bit of a falling out with Danjuma, didn't he? Like, some people can debate whether these players can contribute anything to our season, but these falling outs with players, it's not a good reflection on Dyche. Falling out with one player over some misdemeanor, or you know, if he's caused any trouble or whatever, that's fair enough. It wouldn't bother me one iota if I was a manager personally. I don't think it should bother him either. But the lack of the lack of respect he seems to be showing to some of these players, because like he seems to be falling out with a lot of them, and I'm not liking that. It seems like he's got a massive ego, and that is a bad thing to have if you're a manager of a Premier League club. You cannot be egotistical when it comes down to it. It's one thing to be questioned by the players and not be, you know, convinced about it, but what he should be doing is, if he's being questioned by the players, he should be, you know, listening to what they say and give them a valid reason why what they say wouldn't work with what he wants to do, or take what they say and make it better. That's what a good manager would do. But I don't feel he's got the control over himself to do that. He seems a bit egotistical to me, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I think what the fans would probably say is that by removing him at this moment would be more of a gamble, especially looking at 2 years of it. The correlation between the points while he's been in and the points without would point to say that Dyche is doing a good job. There's just no doubt about that. It's very hard to then be proactive and say, no, now we're getting rid, unless you've got a good replacement in mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, mate, I would take Moyes back. And the only reason why, I mean, a lot of people will say that's going backwards, but sometimes a step backwards can be a step in the right direction. What you need to do, in my opinion, if Moyes comes in, one thing I think we're guaranteed is positive recruitment, because recruitment under Moyes was astonishing, mate. I mean, he bought players on the cheap and sold them for profit. That goes to show. And he never fell out the top 10 with that system. So I feel like we could get a foundation back together if we got Moyes in instead. But obviously, whether he would take the job, I don't know, because I've got a feeling he'll get appointed Scotland manager. To be honest with you, I don't think he'll take the Everton job if it comes around the corner. If Scotland comes around the corner, I think he's jumping on that job, mate. And I think the only other ideal man to replace would be Graham Potter, but I can't see Graham Potter coming in mid-season. He's got to have a pre-season with the players, otherwise nothing goes right. But as I say, I can't see Dyche leaving at this present moment in time because of the current state of the ownership and how it and the way it is.
No, I think Potter would need about 6 months of training. It'd be like Bielsa; he just needs like time to teach them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he needs a pre-season. Like a pre-season is key for any manager who comes in. Yeah. But unless there's an ownership change in the next couple of days, mate, I don't see Dyche leaving. And worst of all, following that, I don't see Ashley Young leaving either. I mean, no. I can just see. I can see Aussie Chris asking me a question in the comments there. Who was me player of the season? Player of the season for me, mate, was McNeil, because I think McNeil contributed the most to us staying up. His world-class goal against Forest, he won both Forest games as far as I'm convinced. He had a bad run of form because of, his personal issues. But as far as I'm convinced, he had the most runs where he was in form. Like at the start, when we had those 4 wins on the bounce, he was one of the players who was in form. And when we started winning towards the end, he was also in form then. Whereas some players only drifted into those different time periods where we started to improve our form. Calvert-Lewin improved towards the end, but throughout the season he was poor, mate. So McNeil for me was the player of the season for us, I reckon. That's about as far as I would go with most of them. Most of the players didn't really perform well enough this season. As I say, I won't put it all down to Dyche, but I think a lack of structure really knocked the players' confidence in some cases.
I think you raised some really interesting points, actually. If you actually replayed your sort of 5-10 minutes there, there's probably 20-30 things you could pick up on. But a couple of the key things I was thinking about is, the academy was a big question. And I think by changing managers every 5 minutes, that obviously changes the structure and the plan. It shouldn't do, because it should all be, in theory, down to the director of football. But the director of football model hasn't really worked at Everton, I think it would be fair to say, so far.
They've got to give a manager a certain bit of say over recruitment and youth development. Like the manager should be working with the first team. The director of football obviously needs to sort things out in terms of contract negotiations and probably transfer fees, but the manager needs to decide on whether they have the final say over who comes in terms of recruitment and who gets promoted from the academy with the academy staff, which is why he needs to know all the staff he's working with. I mean, for example, have you ever heard the story of how Kevin Keegan was managing Newcastle when Mike Ashley first took over Newcastle?
I don't believe so.
No, it's quite an amazing story, mate, because honestly, he wanted to sign that centre-half who played for the Shite, the one who was getting on a bit, but still had a bit left in the tank. What was his name? It's Sammy Hippier. He wanted to sign him for 1.25 million, right? And he went to this guy, I can't remember his name, Tony Jimenez or something. His only affiliation with football was that he was a steward at Chelsea for a while, and he got given director of football job at Newcastle, which is crazy to say, but he told them that they need to go ahead and put in a 1.25 million bid for him, and the wages they were going to pay him wouldn't have been any problem because they had players on much more money. But apparently, this Jimenez didn't offer the 1.25 million. He only offered $500,000 to the Shite, and they turned down the offer. And Hippier and his agent called up Keegan personally and said, "What the friggin' hell's going on? They've offered this much money for him. It's crazy." He basically went back to them and said, "You didn't make the initial offer, you know what I mean?" But that one passed them by. This one will make you laugh, mate. This one will make you laugh. Do you know who else Kevin Keegan wanted to sign to Newcastle? He wanted to sign Modric before he went to Tottenham. And I kid you not, mate, this is something Kevin Keegan actually says is true. He says this Tony Jimenez sat down with him watching clips of Modric and everything. and how good he is. And this Jimenez literally turned around and said, yeah, he's a decent player, but he's not good enough for the Premier League. Like, he said, how can you say that about Modric, mate? I mean, look at where he's been the last couple of years and how much he's proven everybody wrong when people were saying he's not that good a player. I mean, Kev Keegan actually said he played England off the park prior to this negotiation. They were in there before Tottenham were, and they could have got him. But that idiot turned him down and said he wasn't good enough for the Prem. I mean, that's maddening to think of, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone's got to be on the same page.
Yeah. It just shows how the director of football can sometimes get in the way if they don't have good communication or a good relationship with the manager. And that's what I feel like we need to have. If Kevin Thelwell has a good relationship with Dyche, then that's fine. But I'm not trusting Dyche to bring in the right players personally, because I don't think he will bring in the right players, even if he had the money. So, for example, if he gets a good amount of money for Onana or Decore, I really don't think that he will bring in the right players to keep us afloat. I don't even think he'll bring in the right players to push us forward. But I would feel a bit more confident if I saw a change to how we do things in the academy, because I don't like how we run like a charity, just offering jobs out to ex-players who have no experience. I want to see some people who the manager knows, who do have experience, getting jobs. And I don't really trust Dyche to bring in the right people. You know what I mean?
He's operating with his hands tied behind his back, in effect, at the moment, in terms of finances and everything. But I completely agree with the academy structure, or the lack of it, and everyone has to be on the same page. I mean, at Liverpool, I don't want to harp on about them, but Klopp, he embedded that into the academy, and he's able to use that. A lot of academy players, even if they've just been sold for 30-20 million, like Solanke. I think that's the sort of model you've got to take, whether you actually have a philosophy and the managers keep the same philosophy. And I think Everton could have that, and it probably lies somewhere between Dyche and a bit more of an attacking, bringing a bit more of an attacking part to the game.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, you go on. Sorry.
No, I was going to change the topic slightly, but you can reply to that, and then I'll give you one final.
Oh, well, all right. Well, one reply would be if they change the manager, mate, as you say, you've got to change the whole structure. Cannot just change the manager. Got to change what's below him as well, and give the new manager who he wants. In my opinion, that's the way it should be run. I feel that's how the club can improve, basically.
But yeah, we're just in a position where we basically can't offer that. And it's the easy option is just to stick with what we've got, sell a player or two, and just try and recoup and do another season. It's not what the Everton fans want, of course, and I'm not looking forward to it. But on that subject, my sort of final question, because I've been on for 90 minutes now, so I'm going to be wrapping up shortly. When you were speaking about Onana and Branthwaite, I was thinking about the fact Onana, we haven't paid off the money for Onana, and it was quite a hefty sum, 30 mil in the region of, I believe. Would you think that'll play any weighting into this argument? Because we might get 50-60 for him, but the Branthwaite profit will be pretty much pure profit, apart from the little bit to Carlisle and then the 2 mil that we outlaid or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I was saying sell Decore, because I think we could make a profit on him. Could also, I mean, if there's another player we could sell, mate, personally, the one I would probably go for, I don't think I would sell Branthwaite still, because I just don't think he's replaceable. Unless they have a young player out there in mind, I really cannot see him being replaced and it being a success. And I also wouldn't sell Pickford, because I feel like without Branthwaite and Pickford, I am fully, without either one of them two, in fact, then I'm fully convinced we will get relegated next season, 100%, no matter what happens in terms of the transfers. I'm fully convinced of relegation if one of them two goes, because I don't see them being replaced. But another player who would sell, if we sold Onana and Decore, another one I would consider selling, because I think we will get a good price for him, is Calvert-Lewin, because I think we could still get roughly 15 to 20 million for him as well, which would make, if you sell Decore and you sell if you sell Decore and you sell Onana, you could make a profit. Well, Decore, you could probably get 20, 25 million for him still, I reckon. 15 to 20 million for Calvert-Lewin would be roughly somewhere between 40 to 55 million pound profit, I think. So to add that to Onana, you're kind of saying we got 50 to 60 million for him. We'd have to pay, what was it, 30, 25 million off or whatever. I mean, it's a bit confusing, but I think that there are certain
Yeah, I think
players who I think we need to keep. There are certain things we need to watch out for if we're going to get money back. But I would definitely look to sign on a few players on a free. So Lloyd Kelly being one of them. Someone in the chat mentioned that lad at Fulham. Is it Adebayo? Is it or something?
I don't think he's dead.
And yeah, I would probably. But the main one I would go for, mate, is Ndidi, because I think he's the ideal replacement for Onana.
Yeah, that does seem like a good profile of player to come in, and probably wouldn't have ridiculous wages. It's an interesting question. I just think who in the set, we haven't got that many resellable assets, and that one who maybe is that maybe it is Calvert-Lewin, because you look and you think we've got three forwards. I could just see that being a typical Everton move. Just sell probably your best striker at the club and try and get your way through the season on scraps from the other two. I hope not, but it's possible.
It depends how it depends how it goes, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know if Iheanacho's out of contract at Leicester. I'd go for him if he was available, but if he's not out of contract, I don't see anyone signing him. I don't see us having any chance. Like I say, another player I would consider, if we were going to pay any money for a player, a young player I would consider is what's his name? Eddie Gray's grandson, I think. Archie Gray, is it, at Leeds?
Yeah,
he's actually been he's been making a lot. He's been making like a lot of noise down in the Championship. And another player I would consider is that don't know his first name, but that Wright, who plays out wide on the left for Coventry. I think he's a pretty solid player to look into trying to get.
I don't know them as well as I think you do, but I think it's worth some research into these sorts of signings. I'll finish up by asking you: would you keep Harrison? Would you pay for Harrison? If say it's 15 mil, would you?
No,
would you leave
no, I would. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take him for free, mate. Because, in all honesty, he works hard. I'll give him his credit where it's due. He works hard. He's committed to tracking back and all that. But in all honesty, mate, one of the reasons we haven't scored as many goals this season is because of him, because he can't beat defenders 1v1 when he's got the ball at his feet, and he can't cross for shit, to be honest with you. His crossing is abysmal.
No, I kind of thought early on that he flatters to deceive a little bit, but he worked, he put a shift in, and that's why he got by, and that's why he got on the pitch, and the likes of maybe Dobbin and particularly Danjuma didn't get near it. I'm gonna wrap up now because it's getting quite late. And we're an hour and 35. Really enjoyed this stream, and thanks very much for you coming on. We had some really good stuff in there. And everyone in the comments and everyone who's watching, still 400. Thank you very much. Please hit the like, subscribe. And I'm sure we'll be back probably next week with a player season ratings, all that sort of stuff, and review. And looking forward.
If you do a phone in on that, I'll join you for that as well, mate.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll delve into a few of these more in depth. Right.
Yeah.
See you later.
Okay. See you, mate. Thank you very much.